A diamond ring is the symbol of love that most women receive when they get engaged. That sparkling stone in the beautiful setting might be an heirloom handed down from grandmother or great grandmother. It could also be a new ring with a diamond that came from a mine in some faraway place like Africa or Russia. Or it could be a ring with a stone created in a laboratory. That third possibility is becoming more popular these days, especially among young people, because of the problems that occur when diamonds are mined.
There's an awful lot of environmental impact. That's the beauty of lab-grown diamonds, is they have, according to Frost and Sullivan, only 1/7 the impact on the soil, land, water, air. When you factor it all in, there's a tremendous impact in pulling diamonds out of the ground from mines.
That's TJ Walker, spokesperson for Pure Grown Diamonds, a company that creates genuine diamonds in their laboratory in Singapore.
You have to dig, and often you're digging hundreds, even thousands of tons of soil out. You have to use a lot of water. In the case of the Philippines, for example, young children, according to Amnesty International, as young as 11 years old, are diving into water as much as 25 meters down with a little tube in their nose, and they're just pulling it with their fingers in a mine that's underwater. So it is very tough conditions.
To understand what a feat creating diamonds in a lab is, you need to understand how they form naturally in the earth. We asked Marcia Bjornrud, professor of geology at Lawrence University in Appleton, Wisconsin.
They have a really unusual geological origin. They're pure carbon, which normally at the surface of the earth occurs as graphite, which is actually what pencil lead is made of. Graphite is so soft that it scratches off when you write with it on a sheet of paper. Diamond, of course, is the hardest known naturally occurring material. The big difference between those two forms of carbon is that diamond forms at immensely high pressure. And in fact, it forms only on Earth in two circumstances, either deep in the Earth's mantle, far below the crust on which we live, and is brought up by still poorly understood localized eruptions of rock called kimberlites. Or the only other way it's formed is by meteorite impact, when briefly in a meteorite striking the Earth, pressures get so high from the shock wave that you can form tiny little diamonds. Most of the mined diamonds that are used for jewelry and for industrial purposes are from the kimberlite volcanic rocks that I mentioned.
So, how do you recreate all of that in a laboratory? Bjornrud says it was done quite a few years ago, but not for the diamonds in your jewelry.
Diamonds have been synthesized for at least 50 years in very high-pressure apparati. I think General Electric was the first company to create diamonds. They were not trying to make gemstones, but diamond is a really important industrial mineral for abrasives and for cutting of hard materials like glass and other stone. So they were interested in synthesizing industrial diamonds and developed a process by which you could generate these extremely high pressures in the lab.
He wouldn't give us any secret information about how to create diamonds in the lab, but Walker says that the process today is very fast and efficient compared to Mother Nature's.
You start with a diamond seed, which is made of pure carbon. It's then put into a greenhouse where it grows. It's a crystallization process. It grows after 9 to 12 weeks. And then you cut the diamond, you polish it, you mount it, you sell it, and it really takes about 9 months from the very beginnings until the point when it can be on the finger of a customer.
He says that you can get a lab-created diamond in a number of different colors, just as you can mined diamonds.
We have fancy pink, bright yellow, and colorless or white diamonds. So almost anything you see in nature from mined diamonds, you can create in lab-grown diamonds, but it's not a simple matter of just typing in a few coordinates. There's still a great deal of randomness to it because it is a natural crystallization process.
But are lab diamonds really diamonds? Can you tell the difference between them and a mined diamond of the same quality? Walker and Bjornrud say no.
Now, lab-grown diamond is a natural diamond. It just wasn't from under the ground. If you took a lab-grown diamond to a gemologist and they looked at it under one of those loops, they would not be able to tell the difference between a lab-grown diamond and a mined diamond because they are both genuine diamonds.
This newer method is starting to make the major diamond companies a little bit nervous because so far they haven't found diagnostic tests that would allow them to distinguish synthetic from natural ones.
Walker says that his company's diamonds are Type 2A, which means that their quality is in the top 1 to 2% of all the diamonds in the world. The Elizabeth Taylor diamond and the famous Koh-i-Noor diamond are in that category. There are flaws in many diamonds called inclusions, which you might not want in your jewelry, but Bjornrud says are very interesting to geologists.
The lore of diamonds is partly wrapped up with the fact that they did come from deep in the earth, and to geologists it is interesting to study some of these inclusions in the diamonds because, for example, there have been a couple of cases where it's clear that the carbon from which the diamonds formed actually started at the surface of the Earth, may have been subducted through plate tectonic recycling deep into the mantle of the Earth, and then found its way back to the surface again. And that's a story that is certainly interesting, and if that matters to diamond buyer, that's not something that a synthetic diamond carries with it.
Of course, diamonds aren't the only stones that people use for jewelry. Bjornrud says that any stone that you find beautiful can be cleaned up, polished, and used in a ring or necklace. It's mostly a question of taste and trends. One thing that all jewelry stones have in common, though, is that they come from minerals.
To a geologist, a mineral is crystalline substance. That means something in which the atoms, the elements that make it up, have a well-defined pattern in which they sit, and also a well-defined formula. So quartz, for example, one of the commonest rock-forming minerals, is simply silicon dioxide, SiO2. And in the lattice of the quartz crystal, those silicon and oxygen atoms have a particular seating arrangement, and that makes it a mineral. And gemstones are just expressions of minerals in which the crystals have grown with unusual translucency.
You might be surprised to find out what two very desirable and popular stones are made of, and how they're grown in a laboratory.
Many people don't realize that ruby and sapphire are technically the same mineral, which geologists would call corundum. It's just aluminum oxide. It's used in sandpaper if it's not a gem quality version. And the difference in color between ruby and sapphire is due to tiny differences in trace elements that are in the corundum, but they're technically the same mineral. Rubies and sapphires are primarily produced by melting powdered aluminum oxide and then allowing that to solidify and crystallize. And that's the way that's done, and apparently it doesn't require quite as much technical apparatus, so those are relatively inexpensive.
Speaking of inexpensive, lab-created diamonds are not as costly as mined ones, although they aren't cheap. Walker says that engaged couples might want to look into buying a ring with a lab-grown diamond and use their savings for some other expenses.
The typical engagement ring in the United States, for example, people spend often $5,000 for a 1-carat diamond. The very same 1-carat diamond that is a lab-grown diamond at pure-grown diamonds would cost more like $3,000. That means you've got a couple $1,000s more to spend on a honeymoon, a wedding, a down payment of a house. When people are buying diamonds, they often have a lot of other big expenses going on in their life, and that's why they are attracted to the value of lab-grown diamonds.
If diamonds that are lab-grown are identical to mined versions, how do you know which one you're getting? Walker says that it should be pointed out to you by the manufacturer and the jeweler.
Now, what we do, because we're so proud of what we do, is we actually inscribe under the girdle on each diamond an LG for lab-grown and the particular identifying number of that diamond. So you know exactly what you're getting. Now, this is not visible to the naked eye, and I can tell you personally, I've looked for this using a loupe. I couldn't even see the number, so it's in no way distracting. So we ask all jewelry stores, anyone in the supply chain, to let people know, because we want people to know exactly where it came from.
Walker adds that if you're in the market for a diamond of any kind, you should always go to a reputable jeweler and ask what kind of diamond it is and where it came from. You can find out more about lab-grown diamonds and where to find them on Walker's company's website, puregrowndiamonds.com. For For more information on Marcia Bjornrud and Lawrence University, visit lawrence.edu. For more about all of our guests, visit our site at viewpointsonline.net. You can find archives of past programs there and on iTunes and Stitcher. Our show is written and produced by Pat Reuter. Our production directors are Sean Waldron and Reed Pence. I'm Marty Peterson.
Medicare and their list of suppliers continue to change, so if you have diabetes, it may affect where you get your testing supplies. But rest assured that your number one doctor-recommended one-touch testing supplies are always covered by Medicare Part B at your local pharmacy and approved mail-order suppliers. Dr. Brian Levy, Chief Medical Officer at LifeScan, maker of one-touch products.
Some mail-order suppliers may offer a limited selection of diabetes testing supplies. They may try to switch you to a different brand, saying your current products are no longer covered. That's just not true. You are entitled to continue using the products you know and trust and that have been recommended by your healthcare professional at no additional cost.
Remember, you have a choice. Stay with the number one brand used by Medicare patients. For questions about coverage or where to get your one-touch testing supplies, call 1-866-621-6216 or visit www.onetouch.com/Medicare. Medicare Part B is not a guarantee of coverage and payment, which may be subject to coinsurance, deductible, and patient eligibility requirements.
Quaker is on the hunt for America's next great oatmeal flavor with the Bring Your Best Bowl contest. Simply submit your oatmeal flavor using 2 to 5 ingredients along with your creative inspiration for a chance to win $250,000 and inspire Quaker's newest oatmeal flavor. As an actress, cooking show host, and mom of 2, Tiffany Thiessen knows a thing or two about tasty creations.
I'm excited to be a part of Quaker's Bring Your Best Bowl contest because I love the endless combinations you can cook up with oatmeal. From savory to sweet, for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, there are so many yummy ways to enjoy it. Enter your oatmeal submission now by visiting bringyourbestbowl.com. You'll also find a little oatspiration from videos and my own favorite recipes.
No purchase necessary. Open to legal residents of the 50 U.S. states, D.C. or Puerto Rico. 18 years of age or older at time of entry. Find the official rules and more details at bringyourbestbowl.com. Void where prohibited. Enter now through March 12, 2016. That's bringyourbestbowl.com. Sponsor the Quaker Oats Company.